Good morning and welcome to the Metals Exploration PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. And I'd now like to hand you over to Darren Bowden, CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Alessandro. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. We look forward to going through our latest investor presentation with you. And those who were on last time, you can see I've got a haircut, so hopefully that's not too intimidating. The presentation, by the way, covers a lot of information which I won't speak to directly because I really want to present the forward position of the company and where we're going to go. However, there are some slides which I'll stick on for a little bit because I think there's some very good information of how the company's been performing and where we've gone over the last 3 years. So just moving to some of the highlights. The company over the last 3 years has grown very well. We've got stable production and we had record gold recoveries and gold production in 2021. Runruno has a lot of still has some potential for some extensions to the existing mine, and we'll talk through that in more detail as we get into the slides. And at this stage, we've got about 5 years of life of mine remaining. We now have a very solid track record in the Philippines, and our production numbers will remain stable for the next 5 years, given all technical issues within the process plant and the mine have been solved. I'd like to move to the next slide, just giving you some sort of the guidance for 2021 was up to 71,000. We actually outperformed 72,500 ounces. That generated about 130 million of revenues, and we ended up being able to draw the debt down by 21.5 million with total payments of about 39 million. In 2021. Gold recoveries are now stabilising around the 85% mark, and that's where we're looking and focusing our schedules going forward at about the 85% mark, maintaining that recovery and that production rate around the 70,000 ounces on a year-by-year basis. Some of the highlights for the year, we've achieved over now 15 million man hours without a reportable lost time injury. So the business is running very well, it's safe, and the achievements are speaking for themselves. The key issues that I do want to focus on as we go through this presentation are the forward-looking strategies and the options to try and build value for shareholders as we go forward. And the key areas are twofold. It's near mine exploration to extend the existing mine life by as many years as possible, while in parallel looking at M&A opportunities, Philippine-centric, to try and use the resources, the technical know-how and the boots on the ground that we have in the Philippines, building a stronger company with more operating performances through secondary operations. We will continue to focus on our cash flows, and we'll continue to focus on the priority of getting our debt down as quick as possible as we go forward. And I'll talk through those strategies in a little more time as we go through the presentation. You can read the financial numbers. I've talked through them. There's not too much there I want to speak about. The debt has come down, and by Q4 this year we should have the senior debt under control, and that will then convert MES under the existing agreements to a 7% interest, which is significant against the 15 that is currently accruing on the MES debt. So as we draw the debt down quicker as a priority, we are going to get a lower interest rate as we go forward, leaving the company in a very good position to start looking at those alternative opportunities and looking at a bit of the free cash moving into other areas rather than directly into debt. And that's our focus. This slide here again just shows you that drawdown of the senior and puts us in a very strong position to have that senior debt paid this year. And when it is paid, that MES debt becomes a ticket that we can actually move forward with and look at those opportunities as discussed. The key issue we're dealing with here is the performance of the business has been, starkly obvious. The growth and the technical changes we've made have enhanced the performance, moving recoveries from the 50% mark right through to the 84-85%, and that's on a lowering head grade. So the team have done a very good job. The design of the mill is a 1.7 million tonne a year mill. We're running at 2.1, and at that higher run rate, we are achieving a higher recovery as well. So overall, the technical issues in the mill and in the business have been solved, and really now it's sustaining that business performance to sustain that cash flow as we go forward, and that is our key focus in the operation as it stands. So everything there is running very well, and I'm happy with the strong team that we have on site and we have in the Philippines managing that production. I won't talk through the capital structure. You can all read it. The shareholding hasn't changed much. There's a small movement in the retail area up and down, but generally we have a stable share price, and we have a very stable investor base of all the key shareholders, which hasn't moved for quite a while now. And really it's our focus to try and enhance their value as we go forward, once we get the debt back to a position where we can start looking at cash flow moving into other areas. I think everybody knows about the Philippines. I'm assuming if you're on this call, you have been following what's going on there. The Philippines is a mineral-rich country. There has been some very strong movements in the federal government of the Philippines to open up mining again. They believe that the economy will be mining-based or called primary industries-based as it goes forward, and that's very for a developing country, that's critical. And therefore, any of the bans that used to be in place on open-cut mining and on other mining ventures have been now removed, opening up the way for the development of larger, more profitable mining ventures within the Philippines. At this stage, we haven't seen a lot of financing coming back in to follow that, but we do believe with our management team, with the enhanced business relations we have built in the Philippines, that there will be opportunities to grow this business through that M&A strategy with the federal government opening up the doors to allow that business to go forward. So we're very bullish on the Philippines, and we're very bullish on the way the government's moving. There is a new election coming up in May. And in May, we do see that the two front runners for the presidency are both pro-mining. So in either case, it looks like we have a very good chance to have a government that will support mining going forward in any case. So there's all really the messages from a federal level are all good news for Metals X as we go forward in the Philippines. Just a quick overview. I don't want to talk to these slides too much until we get to the ones that I think are more focused. Really, Runruno been mining now for in the order of 7 years. Things are moving forward pretty well. We do only have till 2025-26 mining left, and I'll focus more on the exploration near field to give you an idea of what's going on in the extensions to the mine to the north. Generally looking at just under 430,000 ounces left in the mining pit. That doesn't include inferred, that's the reserves. There are some inferred resources which will come into that to increase that marginally, and then the exploration drilling as we go forward will help. And we are looking at that this year. There will be some expenditure in that area. You can see slide 13 really does give us a good indication of where the business has grown and how it's grown. In the start of the pandemic, we had some significant issues in power supply from the national transmission grid, which did cause some issues in terms of production and failures in the Biox area, but that has since stabilized, and since then we've been achieving a strong production on the back of reducing head grades. So everything's going well in the production area. Not much to talk about here. As I said, where the mill throughput's up, recoveries are up to where we want them to be, and overall the design parameters that were specified in the original design documents we are meeting, which means BIOX is now performing at 92% oxidation. Flotation recoveries are up to 95% as they should be, and our CIL recoveries are up to 95%, and flotation we're up around the 88%. So everything's going well, and the business is performing pretty well overall. Mining operations, the mine design is one of the focuses we've had over the last 3 years to try and make it more efficient. We're now into 100% backfill in the pit, which provides us with a very efficient strategy for mining. And overall, we're at stage 3 in the mining sequence, stage 2 still being mined, and then we got stage 4 and 5 to go. Given that nearly all waste is now coming back in pit, the size of the fleet, there's no changes in the structure of the business in mining, and therefore no increases in cost as we go forward. It's now an efficient little pit that runs pretty well. So we won't see, except for inflationary pressures that every mining company is seeing around fuel and other consumables, we won't see capital increases in the business to support ongoing operations in terms of equipment growth or equipment purchases. Really, it's just consolidation of the fleet that we have at this stage. So the key focus for us is looking out at stage 4 and 5 and trying to see how we can extend mine life north, east and west of the existing pits. And really there is absolute opportunity to do so. We've recently finished some geophysics in the area. We've mapped all of the illegal mining areas, and a lot of those areas are outside of the existing pit. So it does show that there is significant, there is gold, whether it's in economic form for a large-scale mine versus a small-scale miner is something that's still yet to be determined. But given that the ore body hasn't really changed as we've gone north, we do believe that those opportunities will bear fruit in terms of extensions to the existing mine life. And that's part of what we're very much focused on this year. We have an exploration budget that's been approved by the board and by the lenders, and that exploration has already started. If we look at slide 18, you'll see that the geophysical survey, there is just to show, this is the existing pit where my mouse is giving you an indication. And you can see down in this area the significant amount of exploration targets that you're seeing. See the old tunnels that were existing in the upper areas of the mine. That is all of the targets for drilling. And we can also see over this side more tunnels, even up to here where there's further tunnels up in this area as well. So there's significant east-west profiles where we haven't been able to drill in the past due to the illegal miners being in place, where now we've opened up, there's no illegal miners there anymore, and we can start those exploration activities outside the existing pit for extensions east and west and to the north as well. So if you see this is line, this cross-section here is in line C, section C, and you can see we've got exploration holes going far north of the existing pit, which is here. So that is definitely opportune. There's still some illegal activities up here. So it does show that there's definitely gold up in this area. So that exploration activity, pushing those pits further north, is a key focus for us to extend the mine life. And already some of those drill holes at shallow depths are starting to bear fruit, where we're seeing definitely disseminated sulfides and mollies coming into the fractures in the stockworks at very near surface, which is what we're after and what really this mine is based on. We haven't got any results back on those yet, and as we do, those things will come back to the market, and we'll let you know how everything's going. But at this stage, we're seeing some positive results in the initial drilling at very shallow depth. And the benefit of this is we're not drilling hundreds of meters, we're drilling 50 to 100 meters, which is providing us with low cost exploration, and we can get a lot of drill holes, a lot of bang for our buck to extend this mine life very cheaply. And that's part of our focus right now. Processing plant, as I've said, the processing plant has gone forward with the core team there, very much understanding what is needed. We have now successfully understood and reconfigured BIOX, and BIOX production is exactly where we need it. There's still some of the technical issues that we have identified. There's still a little bit of work in the plant to finalise the reconfiguration, especially in the area of temperature control. But generally, BIOX is in a position where it is stable. It's producing where it should be against design, and our CIR recoveries are reflecting the same. So overall, we've got a stable plant, we've got a stable BIOX circuit, and we've got a team that understands the technology that's required to implement any changes that are required right now. So I'm in a very good position with the team we've got on site. They're happy. We've only got a small expat contingent. There's only 10 expats in the whole of the operation, and there's only 3 within that process area. So that team with the local team, which are now well trained, is doing a very good job in managing that plant and managing it going forward. So no real issues there, and I look forward to the production just remaining stable. I don't see any issues with that. We have an amazing safety environmental record. There is a large focus to be, as part of our vision statement, to be one of the most admired producers in the Philippines. And with that, we recently achieved the safest mine, safest surface mining operation, safest overall mining operation, the best mine supervisor. We have had, over the last 5 years, we've won the Environmental Reforestation Award twice, and been runner-up every other time, or in the top 3. We do have one of the best CSR programs in the Philippines, and I'm very proud of the work that the team are doing in this area as well. It has given us the opportunity to build relations and credibility within the Philippines, which gives us that opportunity to move business to the next stage of growth through M&A, because people look at us as a credible source of development of operations, and therefore they're coming to us with opportunities rather than us having to seek them out. So it has been a very good strategy to maintain, and it always will be, to maintain good relationships and build good community spirit and community well-being within the area of operations. And with that, there's 2 structures to our CSR program. Our CSR program has a government-based structure where we pay into a government fund, and that's all around infrastructure. So that's building of roads, schools, municipal buildings. But our own internal CSR program is more focused on people. We focus on communities, families affected, children at risk. We focus on then the development of the communities in the area of education, skills building, and management of families and family well-being. And that's our focus, and it's really built a very credible future for us in the area of CSR. So we've got a very strong community. We're one of the only mining companies that don't have any protests in the country, and even at a government level, we are recognised for the work that we do in both the environmental area and in the communities as such. So the only thing I haven't covered in this presentation, which I do want to talk about, is our strategy going forward. It is mentioned in the first couple of slides, but just to talk through it, we are very focused on that near mine growth, and this year and next year growing the mine and extending mine life by however many years may be available to us. We will be very focused on doing so. And what's the benefit of that? We get 1-2 years extension to mine life. We've got 7 years of mining. That gives us, that opens the door with, 1, the cash flow that's generated by that, but 2, by the time frame that's generated by that, to have an M&A strategy where we can grow the business through multiple mines. And we have now the time frame, and we have the opportunity through the board and through the lenders to start thinking of a bigger business, of a more structured business, not around a single operation, but around multiple operations. And quite frankly, that is our way to build shareholder value as we go forward. We have recently been looking at a number of M&A opportunities. We've presented those to the board, and 15, 20 opportunities. We funneled that down to 4, which we're very focused on over the next 12 months to try and get one of those 4 up and running. And hopefully we can come back to the market in the near future, within the next 12 months, to show that the business has a future beyond Runruno. And that's our focus. So I hope that gives you a good overview of everything that's been happening in the business. And I see that there's a couple of questions come up. Alessandro, I'll hand it back over to you.
Darren, thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated in the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Darren takes a few moments to review those questions for today, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Darren, we actually received a number of pre-submitted questions from investors today, and I wanted to start off the Q&A session with these. The first one reads as follows. I'm very interested to know how the new resource drilling is going, both in pit and out.
Yeah. So let's start with in-pit. We do a lot of in-pit drilling. We did last year. We've got a budget of about $800,000 for our resource definition drilling. So everything in-pit pretty well has come into reserve. There's only a small amount of inferred that hasn't, and that will probably be drilled, if not this year, within the next 12 months. So the in-pit, i.e. the pit shell that's currently defined, is well defined and well understood, with quite good confidence of what's there. What that drilling has showed is that there's marginally lower grade to what was in the original models, but more tons. So the overall ounces are about the same. And that's why it's critical for us to maintain the high production through the process plant, so we can keep the ounces up as that lower grade comes through. The outer pit drilling, which is seen as exploration drilling, requires lender approval to do so, and we've got some budgets now to do that this year. And that drilling, as we've talked about in the slides, has actually started, and we're very confident, given what we've seen in stage 4 and 5, for extensions to mine life. It is shallow drilling. We're talking 50 to 100 meters. We're doing some core and some RC drilling to back that up, so we're keeping the cost as low as possible for the best bang for our buck. And even in the first hole and first 2 holes, we are seeing that there is some stock work and some disseminated sulfides, which will lead hopefully to some good gold results. The illegal miners have been there for a long time, and they grew over that time. So it does show that there is something there, and we're working hard to try and exploit that for ourselves now as we go forward. So I see in the next 12 months, in the order of probably $500,000 of expenditure on exploration drilling, which should hopefully start adding to the resource, and then we'll do more definition around that to add to the reserve probably in the next 24 months.
That's great, Darren. The next question comes from an investor who asks, with the current debt arrangements, now we have shown the market that we can operate effectively, are you looking at renegotiating the debt to a lower percentage, as currently we are profitable, but not showing it as we pay high interest?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, or as explained just in the presentation, what we're seeing is the current structure of the lenders' agreements is that by Q4, the senior will be paid off, and then the mezzanine debt will be restructured, and it is restructured down to that 7%. That's already within the agreement. So we will have a 7% ticket on our mezz debt by the end of this year, which is commercially quite a good number. We didn't have anything better than that in the previous loan agreements with our senior debt. So we feel that restructure that was previously done, while everybody would like to do better, I think we did very well to put the company on a profitable footing, as mentioned, and we do not see or plan to do any more restructuring of that debt going forward as we sit.
That's great, thank you. The next question relates to debt. When do you anticipate the remaining debt being fully paid by?
Yeah, as mentioned, the senior will be done by Q4 this year. Then the mezz converts to senior. Given the current cash flows and current gold price, if that holds steady over the next 3 to 4 years, we see that by 2025 we should have the debt fully paid, fully drawn down. Again, that could move based on how much money we move from free cash to M&A. But if we do move free cash to M&A because the debt isn't as critical at a 7% ticket, then I feel that it would be well done for the shareholders to start spending money in that area, so that the mine has and the business has that extension to future. But at this stage, all things equal, we're looking at about 2025.
Thank you very much. Just turning to the next question, which relates to ESG, and asks, what is your ESG policy?
Yeah, I think I've explained that, but really our focus is, as I said, twofold. There's a government program for infrastructure. We then have our own program in a community level for capacity building, children at risk, education, and families. On top of that, our environmental policy and environmental procedures has led us to be best in country. 3 out of the last 5 years. 2 out of the last 5 years, and in the top 3, 5 in the last 5 years every year. We only missed out by like 50 trees last year in terms of our tree planting. We plant over 2 million trees, both endemic and cash-based crops for local farmers. Very strong performance in that area. You've seen our performance in safety, so we absolutely manage an operation that is world class. I don't believe there's too many other businesses that can show 4 years of LTI free with a workforce of over 1,200, more than 15 million man hours without an incident. So the business is well managed from that point of view. The team are very strong, the team are very focused, and I believe our future is well in hand because of that.
Thank you, Darren. That's great. The next question relates to COVID-19, and if you could provide us with a brief update on the situation in the Philippines, that'd be great.
Yeah, look, like every country, the Philippines has gone through all these waves of variants. However, our operation has been largely unaffected. Typically, the mining has maintained continuous operations. As I said, in the first few months of the pandemic, we did see some issues with the national grid, but since then it's been quite strong. It's been reliable, and while logistics and inflationary issues across the world are affecting all costs in the mining sphere and probably every area of business, generally our operation has maintained steady production, and the results reflect that.
Thank you very much. The next question reads as follows. Can you update us on the situation in the Philippines, and how is mining viewed?
Yeah, again, talk through this in the presentation, but clearly there's a strong government push for mining to be part of the economy going forward. Previously, there were some issues around the government, and they'd shut down open cut mining, or what they called open cut mining. We were one of the only mines that were approved back when this was happening. And it had been a real issue for the Philippines and investment because of what was happening within the government. However, that has changed. Last year they did come out with a statement, and they did remove any of the bans against open pit mining. They have been very strong in their rhetoric around mining as a base for the economy, and the upcoming presidential elections show a propensity for the major candidates to be pro-mining. So I feel that there's a real opportunity for an existing miner with the right team in country to take advantage of this opportunity.
Thank you very much. I know you might have touched on this in the presentation, but what is your focus for the year ahead?
Yeah, again, parallel focuses on exploration and M&A. Not much more to say about that. Consolidation of existing operations, maintaining cash flow to draw down the debt. Thank
you. The next question is about new projects. What about new projects? What are you looking for, and have you identified any yet?
Yeah, as mentioned, we've probably got, we just, board meeting a couple of days ago, got approval to look at 4 separate projects, M&A projects within the country. And we are moving forward to start engagement on those projects. as everybody knows with M&A, it's a fickle beast. You don't know how you're going to go, and you don't know if the two management teams and the two businesses can come together. But we will be working hard to find the right business for us. We have a very specific focus, where we are generating free cash. We are a company that has some opportunity to invest money within this sphere. However, we're not looking to look at opportunities that are large scale beyond our means. So we have a very specific target set. We're funneling to that target set high grade, low volume, low capex type operations, which generate maximum value in terms of margins. And that's our focus as we go forward. And there's enough businesses in the Philippines that are underdeveloped that we can assist with in this sphere.
Thank you very much, Darren. The next question reads as follows. What's your exploration plans for the year ahead?
Yeah, as mentioned, we're focused on east, west and north of stage 4 and 5. We've got a budget to somewhere around the $500,000 mark to spend on doing that work. And that's our focus for the next year. And hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be able to come back with some strong information around those extensions to the resource and the year after to the reserve as we go forward.
The Biox plant has historically been problematic. What changes have you made to ensure you hit nameplate?
Yeah, look, it has been an interesting journey with Biox. It is variable in trying to maintain stability, especially on a power grid that we're at the end of the line. But we understand the technology now. We understand the team has a very good handle on the issues that result in failures in Biox and performance. We understand we've made a lot of changes to maintain stability, increase airflow, increase agitation, the nutrient feed across the board. The last outstanding bastion to finalise our changes to the technology is stability around temperature control. And we're working on that this year. Right now at 50 tonnes sulphur a day, the plant's designed for 70. At 50 tonnes sulphur a day, we easily maintain the 92% performance in Biox, 92% oxidation, which gives us a 95% CIL recovery. And that's basically design. And with stable temperature control as we go forward, we'll be able to push that to the 70 tonnes, which is the full nameplate design of that Biox circuit. So very happy with the team and very happy with the performance of Biox.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for providing a bit more colour there. Next question is from an investor who asks, what is your planned capex for the year ahead and what will this be spent on?
Yeah, so it's maintenance of equipment is one key area. The mine mobile equipment, a lot of that's coming up for rebuild. And really the other major area of investment is the RSI, which is a residual storage impoundment. That needs the last lift to take it to full height will be done this year. And beyond that is the final spillway design. And then next year, starting construction of the final in-rock spillway. So they're the two major areas of investment and capital for the year. That takes our RSI to final stage. So there's no further lifts required. The impoundment will have enough capacity to meet mine life. And the final spillway position gives that's really a closure plan and a requirement for the long-term stability of that dam as we move out to beyond mine life and into closure. That's where we're focused.
Thank you very much. Turning to the next question, which asks, when do you think you will have paid out the senior term loan?
Yeah, I think we mentioned this Q4.
Perfect. And the final pre-submitted question is, can you continue to maintain these levels of record results in terms of gold sold, gold sale proceeds and gold recoveries?
Look, the one thing we don't have control over is gold price. However, from a production point of view, absolutely. The business is stable, the operations are stable. We have a very good handle on the long-term design of the mine and the scheduling. We understand the business and the ore body significantly better than we did 3 years ago. So production-wise, I believe that it's a very stable operation now, and maintaining that going forward is not going to be a significant issue. Gold price, hopefully we see 2100 and everybody gets very happy. But again, that's something we can't forecast, and we don't have much of a crystal ball around that, given the variability we have seen even in the last couple of years in that market.
Thank you very much, Dan. That concludes the pre-submitted questions. As you can see, we've received a number of questions throughout today's presentation as well, and thank you to all the investors for submitting their questions. Could I ask you to open up the Q&A tab, read
Yep.
out the questions and give the responses where it's appropriate for you to do so, and then I'll pick up from you at the end.
Okay, thank you, Alessandro. I'll go through the first question. I've got the CFO sitting here, and so if I miss something, he can help me out. But the first question from Nathan P is around why haven't we refinanced? There's two issues, two sides to that. I'll answer the first part of the question, Nathan, first, and then I'll move on to the second. We haven't refinanced because we have no control over that. The lenders are the ones who can stop or start that process. We need their agreement to make changes. So foremost, we haven't got the approval to refinance. Also, the structure of the documents would be difficult for us to get anyone else to come into. They have supported the company in terms of how we go forward and making the company a stable business with a stable balance sheet. Those lender documents, because we were able to negotiate through the agreements, because it's held by the major shareholders, it gave us a lot of flexibility in how that was to be paid down and how that would make the company stable going forward. The fact of the matter is, by Q4 this year, we will then have a ticket at 7%, which is very commercially viable in the international sphere for a Filipino-based business. So I don't see any real opportunity or any real change that is required in those documents for refinance. Look, we did look at options around equity raises to bring the senior down quicker. There was a whole range of things we did look at, but won't move forward due to the things that I've just discussed. We did pay about 40 million of repayments, but because of the 15% ticket on the MES, it's basically that growing interest rate, which is capitalised on the MES until it becomes senior, that has mean that the net debt payment is only 21 million for the year. So it is absolutely critical and a priority for this business to get the MES down to that 7% ticket, so that growth in the capital in that business, in that loan, can come down significantly. And that's where the focus is. David R. At least 50% of the revenue will be taken by taxes. What action have you taken to reduce this heavy tax burden? Look, the company is looking at all options and all opportunities to reduce under the structures of international tax rules, both local and London, to find not solutions, but to find optimizations around our tax position. We have found some opportunities we believe that are supported by the international tax rules, and they would move forward. So while the tax structure sits there, it is an impost on the business. Everybody pays taxes, and it's something that we need to do to maintain ourselves as a good commercial and a good company within the country. But at this stage, we will use what laws exist both in the Philippines and in London to optimise that situation. Mike, anything else you'd say around that?
Well, we do have a tax holiday through until halfway through this year. And we have made an application to extend that tax holiday. So that application is with the Filipino government. It's perhaps less than 50-50 chance that it will be extended. But we have had a 5-year tax holiday already. So the life of mine tax burden is less than 50%. So the overall tax structure in the Philippines was quite competitive. But as Darren said, we are looking at any possible tweaks to our structures that will minimise that future tax leakage.
Yeah. So Stephen O, I hope that answers your question too, because I believe that covers both those questions. And James J, would it be technically possible to configure the backup power supply in such a way that it kicks in almost immediately? We do. That's exactly how it's configured, and it's exactly what it does. But that doesn't mean you still don't have failures in the overall system. But even if it does kick up immediately, just to give you a technical issue, the blowers, which provide the air to BIOX, they have to ramp down because of the way the turbines work in those blowers before they can ramp back up. So even with the backup power kicking in immediately within seconds, you've still got a 15-minute delay. Okay, and then 15 minutes in BIOX is a long time. So while we have set up a system where it does do that, what we also have done is some of the cabling that was in the initial construction was faulty. We've replaced all that. We've got, and now since 2020, we have not had a failure that has impacted the circuit at all. So some of the changes we've made since we started to see those failures when the line was going down are now not in place. Just to give you an idea, though, we are in a jungle, and the last time we had a failure, we had a rat run under the breaker, and we fricasseed a rat, and the backup power didn't come on. So just to give you an idea of some of the impossibilities that actually happened, and someone laughed at me and said, "You got to be joking." I said, "No, I can show you the fricasseed rat." It was funny. You know, the photo of the rat sitting on a breaker was quite funny. So it does happen. You do have those failures. It's not impossible, but our reliability now is up around the 99.9%. We're very good, and we've got a very stable system. So I think that's pretty well under control now, James. Stephen O. Is the company's strategy to pay down the debt? Yeah, okay, I think we've answered that question. I don't think I need to go into the debt issue again. James M. How proactive have the Philippine government been with the removal of the illegal miners? Look, it took us, James, very much. They've been very active. It took us 3 years to build the relations we needed to get the government on side to start moving this, and to an extent, the business coming up against the wall with regards to the illegal miners. When we started in 2019, 2020, we had 830 illegal occupations, not just people. There's probably 1,500 to 2,000 people. That's down to 2. And that wasn't just us. That was a proactive input by all of the government agencies, and it was a government problem because it's not our issue that they exist. Those illegal mines are actually against government regulations. So that working with the government, we got buy-in from all of the federal areas, including the mines department, the police, the military supporting on the side, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations, which is called the NBI. And across those spheres, we were able to peacefully, with structured compensation, basically remove all of those miners. And as I said, we're down to 2, I think was the last time I looked. So that is now very well under control. We have full access to our areas, and we're moving forward in that drilling that wasn't available to be done prior to now. David R. How much of an impact on cash generation will the tax have? Again, David, as we've talked about, I think this question's been answered. We're looking at structures and optimizations going forward to manage that situation as best as we can. Nathan P. No dividend likely for a very long time. No. Our share price won't be based on dividend. We've first got to grow the company, and once we grow the company, I think we'd much rather see a strong share price, a strong company with a longer term future, which gives you value in your share, which you haven't seen for a long time. Let's be clear, when we took this company over, it was heading towards a liquidity issue. It doesn't have that now. It has strong cash flows, it has positive outcome, and we have a positive future. Look at your share price, and then hopefully in the next 12 months we can come up with some positive information to show that that's going to happen. And then once the company is on a stronger footing, we have brought our debt down, we have grown the business, then we can start looking at dividends. But at this stage, we're not likely to see dividends. Rather we're likely to see growth, and that's what we're focused on. You mentioned other potential projects. James M., you mentioned other potential projects which had been narrowed down to 4. Are these within FCF current permitted exploration areas or outside? We're trying to focus, James, close to mine. We're definitely focused on Luzon, which is the island we're on, but no, they're not in the existing FTAA. The existing FTAA is 4,000 hectares. You'd sit there and say, well, there's enough area to explore, but it's absolute greenfield. There's not one drill hole. There's not one survey. There's not one area of mapping that has the potential that we see that we can get through areas which have already been resource verified, resource drilled, brownfields. And so to get something into the business and up and running as quickly as possible, our money is best spent on M&A outside of the existing area. It would take us 10 to 15 years to develop a resource within the 4,000 hectares if we found one. But going to known resources at the right value for the right niche market that we're looking for, that's our focus. And we'll get better bang for our buck doing that. And that's why the board and myself feel that the strategy is M&A and growth outside rather than organic within the existing FTAA. Rupert P, given your ambitions for M&A and the need for cash, could this defer the date of the maiden dividend? Again, back to the dividend question, strong growth rather than dividends. The only thing we won't defer is paying down the senior. The thing we need to do is prioritise small amounts of cash this year if we're going to do some in M&A, get the senior down, get the MES converted, and then start looking at freeing up some cash at a lower interest ticket going forward on the senior, which was MES after Q4. So yeah, M&A is ambitious, but I think it's necessary if we want this business to have a strong shareholder value and a future, and that's where we'll be focused. James M, I'd like to thank you for turning both mine and the company since your appointment. Fantastic job. Thank you, James. I love the feedback, and it's good to be positive. Into a world-class mine and everything following. Yeah, look, it is. It's still a small mine. It still hasn't the mine life I'd love to see. That's why we need to get that. So, James, I want to bring value to you as a shareholder. I want to bring value to this company. And now we've got a board that's independent. We've got a board that's focused on the same area that I am, which is a bigger business and a better business for all the shareholders. I think the opportunity exists to do so. So, James, if you bear with me, you bear with the company, and you probably stuck it around. You've probably been around for a while and stuck with us. Yeah, well, give us a little bit more. I think we can show real value for you guys as we go forward, and we're looking forward to doing so. James J, would a consolidation help the share price? It's an interesting question. We've had it over a number of discussions in the last few days alone. At this stage, I believe the answer is no. I don't see consolidation doing much for us. If you look at consolidations across the world, normally you see a consolidation and a drop in the consolidated share price as an instant drop once that consolidation happens. So I think you'd look at a reduced capital value or market value for the business if you did so. I don't think there's any real need. I don't like a share at the current pricing we've got it, but again, I would prefer that than at this stage with all the discussions and the advisory committees we've had through the technical working groups of consolidation as being the best option. So we're going to maintain the share regime where it is. In the future, that might change. In the future, if we're a very strong business, we have multiple projects coming on our books, and we are looking at an equity raise, maybe there's an opportunity to do so. But right now, that's not on our purview, and it's not in our agenda. Last question is Chris S. I agree with you, and the team have done a great job, but why is the guidance this year lower than last year? Purely and simply head grade. We have focused on marginally higher recoveries this year to try and achieve an offset to head grade, but the head grade is driving guidance, not production, not performance. We are seeing there is a lull for 2022, maybe into 2023 of head grade, but we do see that come back once we get down into the ore body in stage 3 and 4, where that head grade will come back up. So end of mid 2023, 2024, we'll see bumper years where we'll have production over guidance or well over guidance. But at this stage for 2022, the issue is the head grade, Chris. So that's basically what we're managing. So thank you, everyone. It's been great. I know this is only the second one we've done, and the team here at Tavistock have been great helping us manage this. We will be working to probably do this, if not once a year, once every 6 months, to try and give you an update, because I think now we're in a stable position. Now we're actually doing, generating value within the business and trying to move the business to a more value generative platform. I think these type of opportunities to have these discussions with all the shareholders and with any potential investors is beneficial and productive. So thank you for your time, and thank you for the questions. Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Darren. I think you actually managed to address every question from investors. And of course, if any further questions come through, the company will review those questions submitted and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. Just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, could I ask you for a few closing comments?
Yeah, look, I think, as I've said, most of our shareholders, even retail, are long term. I appreciate it. I appreciate your efforts and sticking with us. We are hoping to generate value in the near term for you through our exploration activities and our M&A. I look forward to coming back with positive news over the next 12 months, and I look forward to seeing James J and James M and everybody else who was on this webinar again, and being able to give you even more positive feedback. So the company, I believe, now has a future. We have a strong management team. We have in-country experience. We've got boots on the ground to do the job that's needed to make this company something into the future. I look forward to it. I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Darren, thanks again for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Metals Exploration PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Good morning to you all.